is going on, everyone? It's your guy, Cole Jackson, back with another episode of the WTFlock Postgame Show, where we'll be giving you instant analysis and breakdowns of the Ravens' 23-7 win against the Denver Broncos up in Mile High. If you're enjoying these instant breakdowns and analysis, click the like button, hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. I'd like to take a second to thank the sponsors of the WTFlock Postgame Show. It's our guys and gals over at Lee's Pint and Shell, located right in the heart of Baltimore. Lee's is your go-to for game day with their game day specials. We got $4 32-ounce Bud Light drafts, $15 Michelob Ultra Bullet buckets, $12 Modelo and Corona Pony buckets, and $20 White Claw buckets. There's something for everyone over there on game day. And now over to my post-game co-host. It's Adam Bonacorsi. What the flock is going on, my man?
Hey, Cole, how we doing today, man? I'm feeling much better than I was about 4 hours ago. I was real uneasy today coming in. I don't know what it was, a little bit of a funk, but feeling much better now after that game.
Yeah, and it was kind of nice to not have to sweat out the final minute for the first time in the 2021 season. You know, we were kind of in cruise control, and we kind of ended on a bit of a funny note. I would say a fun note, funny note, whatever you want to call it. I want to get it right out there. Let's talk about it. So the Ravens get the ball back after the Anthony Averett interception. They basically got one play. You're expecting victory formation. They come out lined up as an offense. So why were they going for it? They were 4 yards away from tying the NFL record for most consecutive games with 100 yards rushing. They run a QB sweep, QB power, and they get the 4 yards. What do you think? Do you care? Is this bad? Is this good? What's your impression?
No, I mean, so you weren't guaranteed that opportunity, but I think the minute that opportunity became available to you, why wouldn't you? You know, I appreciate, there was a lot of yelling and screaming beforehand, right? For the Ravens to take a delay of game or a false start, whatever it may be, prior to that play, in the last offensive drive going into the end zone, because even if they ran it in, they're still 2 yards short or whatever it was. So they didn't force the issue there, knowing that there was a chance the clock would wind down on them. They wouldn't get an opportunity again. Averett makes that great interception, and then again, it's there. Like, just take it. Broncos aren't going to – let me take that back. I'm sure they would have fought him for it a little hard, but the Ravens loaded it up, and they played. It was a great play call there to guarantee themselves those few yards. And look, Lamar didn't take a big hit. He slid down on his butt once he knew he was past the marker. I'm cool with it.
Look, obviously you can say an injury could happen. I get it. I get what you're saying. We're thin at tackle depth. We just lost Villanueva mid-game. So anytime you run a play, it's an injury risk. I mean, it looked like the Broncos weren't that interested. They were just kind of getting to the ball to end the play. I think if the record that they just tied wasn't held by the Pittsburgh Steelers from 1974-75, if I have that correct, I'd care. It would have been from 70 to 74. I think I have that right.
Yes.
I think they would have been. I would have cared a little bit more, but not only is it fun to have a nice little historical streak that we can break next week, but hey, taking one from the Steelers always feels good too. And let's hit on another topic that's been discussed before we get into the breakdown. We have an interesting situation at the running back position. People are not happy that Tyson Williams. I still got that Taysom Hill touchdown run in my head, apparently. So Tyson Williams gets scratched. Le'Veon Bell enters in. The Ravens run game doesn't look the same. There's no juice there at running back. What's your take? What do you think about it?
So I was pretty irate with it. And who wasn't, right? The guy's averaging over 6 a carry. He's clearly far and away, as far as production goes on the field, logically the best option they have. I don't think any of these other guys, and I won't speak on Bell too much because we hadn't seen much of him yet. But at least between Freeman and Murray, they don't have a second gear. They don't have a change of speed. I don't trust them getting to the outside. They're a little more plotting. So you lose that element of your game. But at the same time, you and I had talked, and you had mentioned the fumbles, and they were fortuitous not to go the other direction. But look how big some of those would have been had they gone against the Ravens in those opportunities. So I get it. What was it, 2-1-30 or something like that?
Yeah, well, he's carried the ball about 30 times this year, and he's had 2 fumbles. One of them actually was on a catch. But I mean, he's touched the ball about 40-ish times, and he's fumbled twice. And so, how differently do we look at this situation if both? And I'm not trying to play the, if some butts were candy and nuts, then wouldn't it be Merry Christmas? But if those go for lost fumbles, how differently do we look at this situation?
No, that's it, right? So
do we win that Chiefs game with that fumble on the goal line? That's not a touchdown. How different is that?
It's totally different.
And this is what I think people need to remember. So the outcome of the fumble matters. If you fumble and you recover it, everyone feels good. But in the coach's eyes, ball security is ball security. It doesn't matter to the coaches if we got the ball back. He's still fumbled. He's hard to trust. Now, people kept talking about his pass protection. I've watched every pass protection snap. I'm just not seeing all these issues in pass protection that people keep carrying on. Not only that, but if you actually go back and look at his true pass protection snaps, he's actually running a route on most of the pass plays he's in the game for. And so I just don't think that they're concerned about him in pass protection. So, if you ask John Harbaugh off the record, why is Tyson Williams scratched? It's 100% going to be the fumbles. I have no doubt about it. But I think when you look at, and this is the running backs don't matter. Any running back can operate in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. I just don't see it. I mean, you can see these guys visibly missing a gear. Everyone's really upset about that third down play call where Murray just kind of ran into the pile. No one's really noticing that there was a cutback lane to the right, and it was pretty open. Murray isn't going to make that cut and get around the corner. Is Dobbins? Probably. Is Gus Edwards? Probably. We saw it a few times last week where a play was actually blocked up pretty well, and those guys just don't have the juice. Even on I highlighted in my film room episode on third down, the second third down where they ran a duo concept and Murray tried to bounce it, didn't get the block from Hollywood and got tackled. This was last week in last week's game. Yep. Gus Edwards would have eaten that cutback lane alive. And that's the difference in running back skill sets. I know this has been a conversation. It's a bunch of crap. Obviously the skill set of the running backs matter. And to your point, Tyson Williams looks like he's got the most juice. So I think going into next week, I'm probably inactivating Devontae Freeman. I actually kind of liked what I saw from Bell. I was pretty hard on him. But, he showed a little bit. He showed a nice little spin out of that. Should have been tackled for a loss. And that showed a little bit of juice. It looked like he kind of settled in. So I'm keeping Bell active. I'm getting Freeman out of there because he doesn't really give me anything.
No, it doesn't give you anything you don't already have in Murray, with Murray a little tick up. And just, to kind of end this on one more point here, what we see in games is only a part of it, right? Because the coaches are seeing a lot more in practice. So if we see 2 fumbles on 40-ish touches, that doesn't mean he hasn't done it a handful more times in practice over the weeks. And if you look at it, it was a week 1 fumble, week 2 fumble, week 3 reduced touches, week 4 shut him down. Yeah. So he's obviously, it's not just what he's doing on the field, right? It's got to be something beyond that. And maybe, again, practice probably gives us a better picture. We just don't see that. So on the surface, all we get is 6.1 yards per carry, and you're shutting him down over 2 bad plays. It's going to be than that. So I'm hoping he can right the ship and get things figured out, and we can see him back here next week. And I agree with you, Bell. The few touches he had, everything was kind of clammed, tight in the middle there. We weren't getting much day at all. Didn't matter who was back there running the ball. But, he ran a couple good routes out there, one off the fingertips. It was a little overthrown by Lamar. And then that play exactly, in the backfield makes that little spin move to get out, from under the defender, turns it back field and turns about a 4 or 5 yard loss into a 3-yard gain before the hold. But that's nice to see, right? That's refreshing to see after what Murray and Freeman have done out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a great point on the coaching practice front, things we don't see, things that I still think matter. Before we get into the offense, I know your favorite thing about this time of year is football, but what's next on your list? Is it weather? So possibly the pretentious Starbucks PSLs?
Yeah, no, close. So for me, it's the October beer. It's the fall beer, right? This is my favorite beer season of all. And for me, I can go anywhere, right? I can go with the pumpkin chocolate stouts, or I can go with the pumpkin ales, or I can say pumpkin 10 more times, the Hefeweizens, whatever it may be. I love those kind of beers. And honestly, if you're looking for something like that and you don't feel like just going to the liquor store, best place you should be in this coming Saturday is over at Lee's Pint and Shell for their Oktoberfest party. It's going to be from noon to 9 p.m. It's going to have every, possible type of these seasonal beers that you can imagine out there, wide variety. So you can come out all day. Backwards Crossing will be out there from 1 to 5 with some food. Obviously, Lee's will have some of their own food there as well. And of course, all the oysters you can shuck. Or shuck and handle, if you will, but they'll have shucked, the raw and grilled for those people who are afraid of that little bit of slime down your throat there. So, I'm planning to be out there this week on the 9th. It's going to be a good event out there next Saturday. So, hope to see you guys out there.
And we have some good college football games going on. It's actually the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. I know when I'll be talking about Thanksgiving next week, everyone's going to be like, what are you talking about? Yeah, our Thanksgiving is next weekend. So we got Maryland, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Texas, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Georgia, Auburn. Later in the afternoon, we got Penn State, Iowa. So what's better than football and beers, especially pumpkin beers? Can't beat that.
I love the pumpkin beer.
Exactly. And now let's get into the offense. So we have... I'm going to start right off with it. I was impressed with Greg Roman. And so, usually you end up getting things thrown at you when you say that. And the boo this man gif comes out. But I was impressed. And this is 2 weeks in a row that I saw the defense come out with a dedicated plan to stop the Ravens rushing attack. And who can blame them? And so I keep seeing people say, like, this isn't the first time teams have stacked the box and we've been able to run on them. Yeah, the difference is we have an injured offensive line. We have three running backs missing. Our 3 starting running backs that would have been in the game if we were at full health would have been here. That is making a difference. We can't rely on Lamar's options to open up the run game. That's what's going to have him taking contact, especially when there's an alternative. And the alternative is, okay, you want to stack the box? You want to stop the run game? All right. We'll throw it on your throat. And that's what they've been doing. And they're having success doing it. Lamar doesn't have the highest completion percentage. I know that's definitely an important part. Drops are going to factor into there. We're getting into a high enough number of drops where it's actually going to make a difference on your completion percentage. I think he was 59% today. Not great, but he's doing enough. You are getting enough guys stepping up to make a difference in the pass game. And this game, I think they had 39 pass play calls to 29 run play calls. Yep. So there's a distinct difference in the run game, but or in the play calling, which I think falls on Roman. And I think it's him showing a good feel for the game. What's the defense doing? I'm going to adjust. What did you think? What did you think about Lamar?
So I'm with you with Lamar. Look, early on, I was a little concerned because I think he had about 3 or 4, and I won't call them ducks, but they came up a couple of yards short, throwing at the feet. Prochet caught a great one at the toes, right off the shoelaces and pulled it back up. And Lamar he just looked off early on. And I know he had a lot of pressure in his face. And I know a couple of these were tipped out there, right? But ultimately, it looked like as the game went on, he got a little bit more comfortable out there and it started to show. And what I really like to see out there was the way he was distributing and spreading the ball out there. And I think, kind of to your point about more pass attempts that we're seeing these last couple games, that's going to bring out more diversity in who he's throwing to and spreading, sharing the wealth. So we had 5 guys with 5+ targets today. So that was Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, James Prochet, Sammy Watkins, and Devin Duvernay all had 5+ targets. And actually, Marquise Brown had the fewest of that bunch with only 5 targets. He still caught 4 for 91 in that big touchdown. But of those guys, 4 of them had at least 4 catches too. So it was a good day, right? Overall, it's nice that you have that ability on offense, especially, what's the narrative? Force Lamar to throw, right? That's how you beat Lamar. You force him to throw. Well, now he's got options. He's throwing to a bunch of different guys. They're making the best of the plays. And again, had he not started slow, maybe that percentage is up a little higher. Maybe a couple of things are a little bit different over there. But to still be effective like that in this game. And look, we've talked about Denver being 3-0 coming into this game. That's still a good defense, regardless of who their opponent is. It's still a good defense. So for the Ravens to start as slow as they did on offense and still put up these points today, still get to that 100-yard rushing mark, even though the lanes weren't there. And Denver was playing extremely disciplined, just like we saw in Detroit last week. So I liked what I saw from Lamar today. He was very selective in when he took off with the ball too. I think I counted only 2 of his 4 carries were by, force of hand where the pockets collapsed and he had to take off there. So So really only 3 design runs, I think it was in the day, and that was it. So he was selective. He was trying to find his guys. He found the open man. He was surveying the field. Overall, take the pass, the completion percentage out. He had a good day.
Yeah, and you nailed it. I mean, what was the thing that I think it was Jesse Bates said on Cincinnati last year? He said, take Andrews and Hollywood out of the game and you can beat their passing attack. That's not possible. Now you have Prochet stepping up. Now you have Duvernay stepping up. Sammy Watkins is making plays, looking like the greased up deaf guy from Family Guy to get around Buddy for the first down. Those are 3 guys not named Marquise Brown and Andrews. So that's 5 guys. That's Rashad Bateman's not even back yet. And they even took a shot at Josh Oliver. Unfortunately he dropped it, but or it looked like a drop. Maybe it was a deflection, but looked like a drop. But it just shows that he's not staring down receivers, and I think that's kind of been. We all knew that Lamar needed to fix his mechanics, and it looks like he's done that. The ball looks like it's coming out with a lot more velocity. He's getting more air on his deep ball. All those reports that we kind of heard about from training camp look to be actually true, because I'm seeing a very noticeable difference in Lamar Jackson's passing mechanics. So that's fantastic. And kind of the last step was to get other guys. And this is the part that I don't think is on Lamar. I think other guys in the pass catching group needed to step up and make the defense pay. You want to play our run? Sure. We're going to be more open. And you're seeing it. Prochet's running wide open on a crossing route, or, Duvernay's hitting a corner and he's wide open. And it's because they're playing these really loose zone coverage with, there were times Denver sent 7. You have 4 guys playing in like a cover 4. And so that just opens up so much. So sure, do it. We'll take what works for us. But I think Roman's adjustments were there. And I think guys are actually stepping up, and it's, we're seeing these young guys that kind of needed some time, like Prochet and Duvernay. They've gotten that time and now they're ready to contribute. And so the missing piece is like, once Bateman's back, it's like, there's 5 receivers, not including Andrews, that I think can go out there and do damage. And so, you can have a healthy rotation. You have depth. If we do see an injury to Sammy Watkins, you got to feel pretty good about that.
No, absolutely. And I'll tell you what was a little more impressive today. We kind of go back to your point about the offensive line is, in shambles. The running back group is a little, long in the tooth here. But with all of that said, they're still able to spread this ball. Honestly, and I'll let you speak to it a little bit more since it's your cup of tea. But when Andre Smith came in, I was actually impressed for the most part. He had a couple plays where I was like, I think Ben Cleveland had that hold on the Le'Veon Bell play in the second half there on that carry. But, I was actually impressed with how the offensive line held up in the second half. They weren't getting it done early on in the second half and turning into scoring drives, but they were able to hold that pocket pretty tight for a little while there on Lamar.
Yeah, no, and I felt pretty good about the O-line. We'll see when we go back and watch. Alejandro Villanueva has basically been a roller coaster. He was terrible against Oakland, terrible against Vegas, great against Kansas City, terrible against Detroit, great against Denver. It just makes no sense. Did Von Miller even play in this game? I know he had that really nice run stop on Latavius Murray, but did he even have pressures? I honestly don't know. Andre Smith actually looked okay. You can tell he's holding on for dear life against the speed rush. But the good thing is he's not literally holding. So I don't know if Villanueva's injury is long-term. That can't be their plan. They can't be putting Andre Smith out there for a full game. I don't know what they're going to do. It might have to be McCurry kicking over and Adrian Ely in at right time. I honestly don't know. The place that I'm a little, and it's like anything. With offensive line play, you always hear it from me. I don't think you can do film breakdowns from broadcast view. It's just too hard to see, let alone with just one viewing and a live performance. So I can't really say what was going on in the run game with absolute certainty, but it really looked like guys just not winning on the interior. And so, we're going to have to go back. We're going to have to see what's actually going on there. But the box is also stacked. And if they called a lot of zone concepts, if they're trying to combo block, you can end up with guys just running in easy because they're supposed to be getting combo block, but there's, too many defenders to offensive linemen. So we'll see when we go back and watch, but I think I'm a little disappointed in their run blocking. But in terms of pass protection, Lamar was kept relatively clean. When Denver did get pressure and sacks, it was literally with a 7-man
Yes.
pressure. And so,
Yep.
I mean, this is just a numbers game, 7 pressure, 5 offensive linemen. Like that's
I got 2
where
out of 3 with the 7-man pressure that I saw.
that's what it looked like. So, I'm not down on the offensive line, but we hear the Ravens talk about how they want to bully, right? They want a bully of an offensive line. They're going to have to invest if they want to get that. I just don't think this is the group that's going to get it done. They need some guys in there that can dominate. So we'll see if they can finally put that together. But before we get into the defense, were you able to get out to Lee's Pint and Shell whiskey event last week?
So I wasn't. I wanted to. Life got the best of me last week, Cole. I just wasn't able to get out there, so I was pretty bummed about that. And always in touch with Lee's, over here at What the Flock, and I found out that they're actually doubling down. They're going to give us another whiskey event in October, which is awesome. So looking forward to getting out there, and I hope you guys can too. It's going to be on Tuesday, October 26th from 7 to 10 p.m. And then it's going to be the same run that we had last time here. Blanton's Eagle Rye 10-year and Buffalo Trace. Same setup, man. We'll get 3 1-ounce pours on the flight, and then you'll get some featured finger food, some giveaways as well out there. And again, I'm going to try to get myself out there. So I think later tonight when I'm trying to decompress from this game, I'll get on and order some tickets to get out there. You guys should too. Go to leepintandshell.com. Go grab your tickets. Check them out on Instagram, Twitter, any of their social media platforms, and they'll link you back to those tickets. And I hope to see you guys out there. Let me know if you're going to be out there. We'll catch up.
And I'll be dropping all their info down below, including a link to the tickets. I know some of you bought for this week. I heard back from you. You guys sounded like you guys had fun. And I mean, this isn't rocket science. If they're doing an event, a repeat, that means the first one was pretty darn good. So don't miss out on this one. It's going to be a blast. And so let's get into the defense. Secondary. Wow. So I was worried about this one, if I'm being honest with you. I know they didn't have Judy. I know they didn't have Hamler. But it was mostly, it seemed like everybody that was actually playing was playing banged up, including Averett, who, I'm not going to say he's going to be an all-pro. But when you hear Wink give him that type of kind of endorsement, and then you see him come out and ball out through 4 games, it's like, okay, I'm paying attention now, Wink. I swear I ever doubted you. So the corners were incredible. Marlon Humphrey was so good. The
Chuck Clark
hit, like the whole secondary, man. Jimmy played good. Like there were some leaks. There's always going to be leaks Denver threw the ball a ton. Teddy was actually less efficient than Drew Lock was, which was surprising. And I always got worried because it's not that. How many times did we see a backup come in for like Pittsburgh and they just play well? And it's because you didn't really game plan for them. So I'm looking at the numbers right now. Like Bridgewater was 7 for 16 for 65 yards and a touchdown, sacked twice, and Locke was 12 for 21, 113 and an interception. And it did feel like he was pushing the ball further downfield. So I think that stood out. But overall, I mean, the secondary balled out. Like they played so well. What did you think?
All right. So like, again, that Chuck Clark hit, I felt that at home, right? That was an absolute shot out of the cannon hit. And I love it, right? I love that kind of tenacity. Chuck Clark said, all this talk about missed tackles, I'll make sure we don't miss on this one. And then just absolutely demolished Spencer there on that hit. So I loved what I saw. I think the only play that, I'll go back to, and I'm sure the coaches will go back to, was that touchdown that Bridgewater did throw. And, Brandon Stevens got rubbed out on it, right? That was it. Like he just got completely rubbed out on that thing on the cross, and then that left Fant wide open. So I know a bunch of fantasy owners out there were like, I'll take the points because I know Fant's one of those guys, right? But at the same time, it was like, oh, that was tough to see. That was tough to see, him get rubbed out there. But it's a learning curve, right? That's a later round, later draft pick for the Ravens, and hopefully that'll be something he grows and learns from right there. But yeah, Averett had a great game. It was either Harbaugh or Wink that said Jimmy would have an increased role this week, and we saw it. And he lived up to it, man. He played great. He was playing sticky out there. He didn't look a step behind. He struggled a couple times with the tight ends crossing, but that was it. Jimmy played great ball. He was playing step for step with some of these guys out there. I think he had a pass breakup today. I know Matabuke had a good swat down too in this game. So
yeah, and the D line. I mean, they were missing Glasgow and Risner, so both their starting guards. But I said like Vegas was missing 2 starters on their offensive line, and we still couldn't take advantage of them. So it really came down to execution. Odafe Owe stepping up again with a huge sack early in the game was incredible. Houston gets his first sack. Matabike had a sack. The pass rush looked like it was actually getting there without just blitzing. So yeah, it was against a beat up line, but sometimes you need that to get your confidence going. I think the biggest takeaway for me for their pass rush is that Owe is going to be an impact player. So it's just like he took so much crap for not having a sack in his final year at Penn State. And I get it. I mean, everybody wants the production, but you're seeing him develop. You're seeing him work inside counters. You're seeing him dip his shoulder on the speed rush. It's scary when you see his athleticism. He's going to be good. Like it's that obvious. And how many times did we wait for an early edge rusher to actually get there? Like Bowser, and we'll talk about Bowser here in a second because he balled out today. But like how long did we wait for Bowser to break out, for Ferguson to break out, Tim Williams to break out? Seeing Owe do it so early in his rookie season is huge for me.
Oh, absolutely. I think his pursuit, even after the play's broken up, right? Quarterback's taken off to the sideline. The speed he has in pursuit is just wild to watch. It's absolutely wild to watch because as a quarterback, you know, your internal timer, right? And you know how fast these guys are typically rushing you, and you know what kind of time you have. And Owe's just busting through that, right? He's looking at that and saying, all right, you're going 1, 2, 3, I'm there on 2. And I think that there's something to be said there too. Rush the play, hurry it up. Even if everything breaks down, the quarterback breaks from the pocket, there's still a really damn good chance that he's going to get out there and at least, you know, disrupt the pass. And I love to see that out of him. So, yeah, I mean, let's hit on Bowser here because Bowser had a couple sacks of his own today, and he played great. It was great to see that out of Bowser. I won't mind saying it wasn't a little left wanting the first few weeks here with him after the big contract and saying, hey, look, we want you back. But he showed up today. He showed up in a big way today.
Yeah, it was kind of not – I don't think it got enough attention. It was kind of like, you know, I didn't really want to crap on the guy, but also at the same time, where are you? And so this is what they needed, right? Like he's going to do a ton of what Judon did in terms of pass rush mixed with coverage snaps. And I mean, you've seen it through his first 4 games. So he's going to have to be efficient on his pass rush opportunities. We finally got to see it today. And I think it's big. It's going to be big for building on. We're playing against a Colts offensive line next Monday that is beat up. Like they don't have Q. Eric Fisher looked terrible today. I watched that in the 1 o'clock game. They ended up benching Davenport, who came in at right tackle, and their O-line is worse. They're worse than us. So this is going to be like, and the Colts do a ton of those misdirection. You know, a lot of sweeps, a lot of running back crap, and you know, eventually I remember when we played them last year, it was kind of like, all right, there's gonna be a point where they're gonna have to settle in and play football. And when they did, the Ravens defense took that game over, in addition to Lamar's passing game was on point. But that's kind of how I see this one going. But it's gonna be big for these guys, this pass rush group, to build on this performance and go into that one. And the last thing I want to hit on with the defense, kind of on the negative side, feels like I'm beating a dead horse, keeps coming up every time we do one of these videos. It's the tackling. Like, it's just, I don't get it. I mean, Javonte Williams took half the team down to the red zone. Like, it was ridiculous. You know, we just, I don't really know what these guys have to do. Like, what do you think?
No, so Marlon Humphrey was riding Javonte Williams back like a Baby Yoda on Luke Skywalker. It was just carrying around down there. It was, and what was it, 3 missed tackles on that one play alone? And these guys are swiping at ankles here. You know, again, not to beat on the dead horse, Patrick Queen still I'm watching him and he's reaching back. Like, a lot of his tackles are reaching back behind him, right? And it's a little frustrating to watch, but it is. Overall, it's the team just cannot square up and make these hits, or they can't shed that block to get over to wrap someone up. And even when they get in front of a guy, they're getting, you know, they can't square up, right? And that's the issue here. So I don't know what it is. I don't know what we're missing here. This unit, you look at some of these guys and you're like, man, what happened? Because it's not a consistent career-long kind of thing with some of them, right? You look at these guys and say, what happened to you? Now, I will say, again, going back on Patrick Queen here, I worry. I worry about, you know, is he going to get that thing figured out? It's just a size thing. And I guess we'll address that later as the year goes on and see what changes in his approach. Again, I think we hit on it last week. You can see his recognition and ability to read is definitely better.
Yeah.
But if you can't physically withstand what that position entails and the hits that you have to make, then there's some decisions to be made. But ultimately, I don't know what to think, man. They preached about practicing it all week, right? The guys want to put on pads and they want to hit as much as they can during the week. Okay, but it's not showing results. So
this is someone, and it's AC Slade hit on this in a group chat I'm in, and he said, tackling's culture. And I think that's a really good way of putting it, because these guys have been playing football for 20 years. They know how to physically tackle, literally, like how to, set up and do their technique. It's all culture, and it's something that we've seen in recent years. We've lost defensive leaders. So, I mean, someone's got to set that tone and kind of, get that figured out for them, because it's a reoccurring problem. It's been happening for a while. And it doesn't look like it's getting better. So I can't sit there and be like, they just need to practice it more. Like, come on, these guys are grown men. They know how to physically tackle. Someone's got to be in there, talking them up and setting that culture in the locker room.
Absolutely. And, there shouldn't be any fear factor in it, right? We're not seeing like the Ravens get hit with a bunch of penalties for personal fouls, or driving the helmet, or anything like that. Late hits, nothing. There's nothing there that would increase the concern about like, I don't want to draw 15 on this tackle. There's nothing there, right? It's just make the tackle, make a clean tackle. It's all I ask of these guys. And that's what everybody's saying, right? It got to the point, over here today where we're watching, Chuck Clark's hit, and I think there's a couple other tackles, and all right, a good tackle. That's right. We're applaud, a little bit of a mock applause, but when they become a little fewer and further between, especially after the Williams run, that was just so painful to watch. Next week you have Jonathan Taylor. That's all I can really say about that. He's not going to be split back kind of situation out there. I think he went over 100 again today.
Yeah, he did.
He's going to get his touches, and if you can't square and tackle him and find a way to take him down, and you let him drag you downfield, it's going to be a long day for that defense. So they got to figure out, right? Is it in their psyche? What's going on? Practice? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'd love to know, but I'd love to see even marginal improvements next week.
No, well said. And so, I think that's what they need to do. They need to get in there, set the tone in the locker room, and let it show on the field. But that's all we have for you guys today. We'll be back next week following the game, Monday Night Football. We'll probably be doing a late one again. Everyone seemed to love the late release, so we'll probably be on that. I was up at 1 a.m. I was a zombie the next day. But, hey, it's worth it for you guys, the fans. So that's all we have for you guys. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Peace out.